Hello, Prestonites. Welcome back, or welcome to for the first time to the Preston Perspective, where we talk about things and think about things, and I give you my perspective on said things. Also, welcome to what I like to refer to as the Echo Room. It's one of my recording options today. And so today I'm going to be answering a perspective that was dropped by a viewer a couple of weeks ago. I asked, hey, do you have a perspective? I'll talk about it. Drop it in the comments. And so this is a shout out to one Kris Pruitt, and his question or his perspective was remake versus original, movie or video game. So we are going to actually take a look at one movie, one video game, and a few honorable mentions, all right? And I do have some notes here, to be completely honest and transparent. I have some notes, all right? Because I want to make sure I get some of these dates and some of these things correct. Now, when it comes to video games, lots of times there's not that many remakes per se, but they get remastered. And what that means is it's still the original game or the original blueprint or format, and we're just taking an older game and making it better with updated mechanics and resolution and graphics, and to reintroduce an older game to this newer generation, and then it lets us older people who played the original get to play it in a little bit more of a fancy HD realm, which is a lot of fun. So there's a little bit of a difference in the video game world. And so there's some video games that are a remake, and we'll talk a little bit about one of those. And then there's some that are just remastered, which means updated mechanics and graphics, but the game itself is pretty much still exactly the same. So let's move into movies, and we're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite Westerns of all time. All right, have you heard of the movie Magnificent Seven? Do you even like Westerns? All right, so Magnificent Seven, you might be thinking of this movie. This one is with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt, and it's good, but it came out in 2016, and it's a remake of a film that came out in 1960 by the same name, Magnificent Seven. All right, but this movie is made with the coolest of the cool, Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen, and I am just a big fan of this movie. I like Westerns. Westerns are fun, but I really like Magnificent Seven. I'm a fan of Tombstone, a couple other Western films. Charles Bronson is also in this one, but they're pretty much the same. There's some difference with some bandits and some outlaws, and then the 2016 movie is more based around some gold than the 1960. But the whole concept is a village who can't defend themselves, so they hire these gunslingers to come in and protect them and even train them. Now, the 1960 film, I learned this in high school in a movie class. The 1960 film is also a remake. 1954 film called Seven Samurai that came out in Japan. It's by a Japanese director. But get this, 7 warriors come together to protect a village. Sound familiar? Yeah. And so they just traded swords for pistols, all right? But I haven't seen the Seven Samurai, but I have seen both Magnificent Sevens, and they're pretty fun. They're worth a watch, and I would probably say it's safe to bet that Seven Samurai is also worth a watch. All right, honorable mention, also in Westerns, True Grit. The original True Grit is made with none other than John Wayne. All right, and then the remake is made with Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon. Another honorable mention would be all of the Robin Hoods from Russell Crowe to the new one with like, you know, Jamie Foxx, and there's even, you know, Kevin Costner, you know, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. There's all these Robin Hoods, including Disney, where Robin Hood is a fox. Not like an animal, guys. Like, they're all animals. The whole movie is told with animals. All right, now let's jump into the world of video games. Stick with me. This is more of a bigger perspective. Thanks, Kris. So in video games, have you ever heard of Smash Brothers in the Nintendo world? Smash Brothers on the 64, or maybe Smash Brothers Melee, or Brawl, or on the Wii U, or on the Nintendo Switch. All right, these would be all classified as remakes because they all change the game a little. All right, they bring in other characters to fight at, the story and the campaigns change a little bit, some of the challenges change, and so they all modify the original, so technically they would be remakes. Now, my favorite people to play as through all the years, and I've been fortunate enough to play every installation or remake of Smash Brothers, is Samus, Link, and Captain Falcon. All right, so let's talk about Samus and her game, Metroid. So Metroid, like, it was great for the time when it first came out on the NES. But if you look at it today through our modern lens, not so much. Here's the thing with Metroid. I find that Metroid, you either love it or you don't. There's really no like middle ground with Metroid. But make sure I don't miss any of these kind of facts. So with Metroid, however, with Metroid, I played Metroid 3 or Prime 3 on the original Wii. I was super excited because of how I feel about Samus. And it was just kind of, I don't know, a little clunky. I wasn't a huge fan of the camera angles and the mechanics. I kind of just felt like blah. So I didn't even finish the game. But Metroid does redeem itself with Metroid Zero Mission. All right? Or Metroid Zero Mission is how I paused weird. Zero Mission. It does exist, but rather than it being like a 100% faithful remake with a couple of moderations, this is actually like takes the blueprint of the original Metroid and builds from the ground up. And with level design, and it draws gameplay and illustrations and inspirations from the original, and it's really, really great. Another honorable mention in the movie remakes would be Disney and some of the classics that they have remade into live action. Some of the live actions are pretty good, but they do not replace the originals. Go back and watch the original cartoons, because here's the cool thing about a remake. The remake does not erase the original. Lots of times, a remake kind of piques our interest and makes us get intrigued about what the original was like and maybe how were they different. So I know this was a longer perspective. Thanks so much for sticking with it and watching it. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you learned something about remakes versus remaster or whatever, you know, let me know. Was this helpful? Do you have a favorite remake, or do you have an original that you are standing your ground and you're like, the original is way better? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. Have a great week.